Hey guys, I wanted to do a video today on what you can expect from the OCD recovery journey because I think people coming into it feel quite confused. They don't know what's lying in front of them. They don't know what will happen. There's a lot of uncertainty, and that can make us feel very unsettled and quite anxious even more so, right? And a lot of people can sometimes even try to avoid working on recovery because they have absolutely no clue what will happen and where it will take them. So I think it's really important to understand what you can expect from working on your OCD recovery journey. So the first thing I would say for that is, as a disclaimer, is also that it's not just behavioral tips and tricks, right? It's not that, hey, if you do just this physical thing, like you'll be fine, or you say this sentence or mantra to yourself and you'll be fine. That won't cut it. Like, the a lot of the things to expect from the recovery journey have to do with your mindset and the way that you are mentally approaching things with your current perspective, right? You have to be willing to see things in a different light. You have to be willing to view things in a different way. You have to be willing to accept change of opinion as well, right? Because there are certain things that you will be like, no, this is exactly how I want my recovery journey to go, and this is what it should look like. That rigidity has to loosen up, right? Because if you're not willing to let go of that very strong opinion that you have, even about OCD itself or the recovery journey itself, then you're going to find yourself in a like it'll be really hard to move past some of those hurdles because you would want things to go a certain way, whereas realistically the recovery journey looks like very very different in that case. So what sort of mindset stuff is needed for this? Well, number one is that the recovery journey is going to take far longer than you would like, at least. It doesn't have to take forever, as Rob also says. It doesn't take forever, but with persistent work, you'll get there. But yes, it will take longer than you probably want, right? Most people probably want to dedicate maybe like 6 months to it. And that's like for them like a rough estimate. But 6 months is like you're just getting your footing in 6 months most of the time. In most cases, you can make a lot of great progress in 6 months, but you can't like I think like in all the coaching calls I've done, I've hardly ever seen anyone like I don't think I've seen in fact anyone recover in 6 months at all. So it'll take longer than you want, and it also is heartbreaking even for me, by the way, to break the news to someone, especially someone new who's coming in and asking how many sessions it will take, how long it will take them to recover. It's like I don't feel great about giving them that reality check that this actually might take even a couple of years, right? It took me, I think, like roughly 2.5-ish years, plus minus a little bit, most likely plus a little bit. But and I'm not saying that just because that happened for me that that's how it will happen for everyone else as well. But realistically, of how many hurdles you'll come across, setbacks, you may go back into compulsions, unexpected triggers will come up, life events will happen, you will probably coast a little bit, you will probably hit a hurdle with like being able to accept certain things. There will be certain compulsions that you'll find extremely hard to let go of. So there's like a ton of different things that will come along the way because it's not smooth. It's not like just like, oh, I started my recovery journey and now it's up and up, right? Which brings me to my second point. Like, it will be very up and down, right? Number two, it will be very up and down, whether you like it or not. It will be very up and down. That's the reality of it. And I think a lot of people, when they come in, and these first 2 points, that it'll take longer than you think and it'll be up and down, it's something that they logically know, but there's a difference between logically knowing things and really believing them, right? So even though they logically know it, there's still that internal rigidity towards like, yeah, but I still don't want it that way. I still don't want it, right? And there's that resistance to be like, and there's this almost this like egotistical kind of wishful thinking. I was part of that, by the way, which is like, yeah, but maybe I can do it differently. Maybe I can make it work for myself, where like I don't have to have a lot of steps back. I don't have to have any kind of like hurdles or triggers or anything that will push me back. None of that. I can, maybe I can work for myself to make it go up and up. Yeah, not going to happen at all. And I think most people are able to believe these two things once they really experience it themselves. Because a lot of people, I think, until they don't really experience ups and downs, and until they don't experience like the length of the recovery journey, they then, and I've had this so many times, they're like, you know what, you were right, and now I'm starting to really, see that okay, it will take longer. So it takes, I think it takes also that experiential kind of thing as well to really see that it's going to like take a while with lots of fluctuations. Number three is, a lot of the time, I think what happens is when people come in, because they are doing a ton of different compulsions, a lot of the initial recovery journey will be a little more inclined towards changing behaviors. Again, not set in stone, but generally saying that initially a lot of the inclination will be towards okay, what are some of the major compulsions that even if we can't eradicate them immediately, because obviously it is difficult to eradicate them, can we bring it down as much as we can initially speaking, right? Because cutting out compulsive behaviors or making other behavioral changes to our life really does help make some initial fast progress, and it helps kind of like give you momentum for like the next many months. It clears the path for a lot of new things that you will be doing right after that, right? Which includes more behavior changes, more exposures, more cutting out more compulsions, right? And most importantly, of course, then changing your perspectives on things, right? Because until you don't make if you're only trying to work things out in your head and you're not making your behavioral changes, then your thinking is also not going to shift much, and vice versa, right? If you're only changing your behaviors and you're not working on your thinking, then the anxiety will still feel like it's still very stuck in there. So kind of like both pieces are needed like side by side, simultaneously in a way. So initially, that's what you should, I think, expect as well, that the initial part will be focused a lot on cutting compulsive behaviors and things like that. And I think it also feels at times, it feels quite uncomfortable for people as well, because in the first call, like for this is how at least I work. In the first call, I'm able to immediately tell like a ton of different compulsions people are doing, and I have to highlight like I'm like in a list, like these are the main things that we have to try to like throw out the window as soon as we can, right? And obviously I'm not expecting them to get like get rid of all those compulsions overnight, but like it has to be listed out like straightforwardly, because people should also know what they're working towards, so that they can start preparing their mindset of like okay, this is what I have to do in order to like make significant changes to my thinking and my anxiety, right? The fourth thing related to this is then as well that initially when you will be cutting compulsions, expect to feel a bit worse initially, because of course there are certain behaviors that you have been doing for a very long time. There are certain ways of thinking that you've had for a very very long time. So making those changes will make you feel a little anxious. It'll make you feel a bit nervous. It'll make you feel uncomfortable. All those things will be part of it, right? You might even get some new physical symptoms as well. Some new intrusive thoughts might pop up, because obviously when you're trying to work on OCD is going to try and bring up some new things, and it's going to try and get you into that little corner again of like, okay, you're trying to get over this. Okay, I'm going to throw a new thing your way, and maybe this is something you can't get over then, right? So all of that will be part of it. The fifth thing is that if you are really not building your foundational knowledge about acceptance and irrational beliefs, you will feel a bit lost at sea. You will feel like you're trying to swim but unable to swim properly. Because if you're only trying to work things out in your head, if you're only trying to look at different perspectives only in your head, if you are not giving yourself that chance to learn about things in depth, you're not going to be able to swim. Because the analogy I always give to people is that imagine trying to become a doctor without reading your course textbooks. If you're only either reading audiobooks or listening to the audiobooks of those textbooks, or relying on the lectures that you get or the classes you attend and the notes you take in there, you're still going to feel pretty like, not so balanced out for your, I mean, you really have to do a thorough kind of like a proper hands-on kind of approach towards becoming a doctor. You can't half-ass it. In some ways, it is similar to that. You can't recover from OCD just by trying to like in a very half-baked kind of approach at all. Um, Number 6 is, what to expect is that you are going to probably start noticing behaviors beyond your main big theme in your general life as well that need to be changed, right? So someone may have, I don't know, someone may have harm OCD, for example, and they might be doing their very, your typical expected avoidance behaviors of sharp objects, or films that revolve around a lot of killing or psychopathic behavior or any of those things, right? That might be happening. But then when you really start to expand the view that you take of your life, and you start to see how you're operating in your daily relationships, how are you operating when you're going out into the world, how are you at work, how are you with your family, how are you with your friends, a lot of the behaviors that you're doing over there are those tiny little pieces of your personality that are keeping you in that format of rigid thinking, right? And those are also the things that are also kind of fueling our upsetness as well. Again, a classic example I mention frequently, I've mentioned this on videos before as well, I think, because this is a very, like, I think it's a great way of demonstrating it. Like for Nick, for instance, his main theme was sensory motor OCD, right? He was fixated on either his blinking or his saliva and things like that. But he also had a ton of road rage, right? And he would get really angry on the road. On the surface of it, those are two like separate things, like being afraid of your body sensations versus like having extreme reactions out on the road. But when you really think about it, like and when you map it out, it really does like feed into each other, right? Road rage is also those rigid beliefs of this must not happen, that must happen. Sensory motor beliefs are also like this must not happen, that must happen. This thing is inconveniencing me. This is super inconveniencing me. This is robbing me of a peaceful day. This is robbing me of a peaceful day. Like the beliefs behind it often like mimic and mirror each other very much, right? So and like a lot of these things then interlink, right? You are going to, when like if oftentimes when I give people recommendations regarding something that they're doing in life outside of their like main big theme, those things are also considered compulsive, by the way, right? And when they start making those changes, it does bring out a lot of anxiety. It does make them feel very, very uncomfortable. And you can see by that anxious reaction is that they were probably relying on that specific kind of behavior or thing a bit too much. And really fixating on it and really wanting to keep that as a safety net in their life as well. So what to expect from this journey is also that you're going to start noticing probably far more compulsions than you initially thought you had. Similar to this, I would say the next point I would say is that there probably will be a period you'll have where you'll feel uncertain as a person about who you are, right? Because when you're doing a life overhaul across like several months, there will be a moment where you'll be like, wait, like I don't recognize myself in my life. Like I'm not the person I used to be, but I'm also not the person I want to be. And I'm somewhere in the middle, and that feels like can feel a bit like unsettling for people as well. So just that sense of like identity for people will be questioned a bit. It will feel confusing and not feel maybe that great as well. But part of that period is also then pushing through, carrying forward as you are, really still doing the work that you're doing, not giving that up, keeping up the consistency, and yeah, and essentially just like bringing that discomfort of not knowing exactly who you are anymore, bringing that for the right as well. Then this will feel a lot of parts of the recovery journey, by the way, will feel very uncomfortable. And I think people, again, logically, people know this, but they don't want to acknowledge it and they don't want to believe it. But it will feel very uncomfortable. A lot of things that you'll have to do will not feel that great, including cutting compulsive behaviors, including exposures, including some of the belief work that you might have to do as well. Sometimes people don't even want to write things down out on paper because it's like, oh, this feels so uncomfortable, or like I can't even like write it out in words. So that, and I think like attached to this is also having that willingness to experience discomfort. If you don't have the willingness to experience discomfort, again, it's going to be very hard to make certain steps forward and really put your foot in the front and be like, okay, I'm going to do this. Because if you're expecting the recovery journey to be easy, linear, and not with many hurdles, then I mean that thinking has to be reworked. It really has to be reworked. You have to align your expectations of the recovery journey with what's realistic, and not have a fantasy version of what recovery looks like, right? I'm not saying it's torturous, at least not throughout. There will be some moments where it will feel torturous, but it's probably going to be more difficult than you like want to think it will be. So I think aligning your expectations of the recovery work to more what it realistically looks like is going to take you a very long way. And overall, I think what I would like to wrap this up with is that it's like the difficulty of it and the realness of this disorder is probably what throws people off the most. And that's what also then, like, when they're working on things, they make some progress and then they hit another hurdle. It's also like, oh, but this now feels surreal. Oh, no, like now it feels like now I'm having an actual intrusive urge. Now I'm having an intrusive sensation. Now I'm having an intrusive feeling. Now it feels like it's actually affecting things, right? The realness of it will make it feel extremely difficult. It's going to throw so many curveballs. It's going to make you feel like you have to stick to your old way of thinking and behaving and living. What you really have to ask yourself is your current life, is it the one that you really want for yourself? Are the things that you are currently doing, are they really helping you, or are they actually keeping you stuck in that same cycle? And if not, if you don't want the current life that you have, then are you willing to do things that, despite feeling uncomfortable, at least give you a chance at a different life? Really, that's what it comes down to. Do you want to give yourself at least a chance of doing things differently that might take you somewhere? And a lot of the things, you don't even have to have like the belief and like, yes, absolutely, I am going to recover. You don't have to have that right now, because again, it's a doubting disorder. It will doubt even your recovery work itself. But are you still doing the work even if you are doubting whether you will even recover or not, is what matters, right? The same as a cancer patient going through chemo treatment is not 100% confident that they will actually be free of cancer, but they're doing it anyway because at least it gives them a chance at a different life. It's not a 100% guarantee, but it's a chance, right? And I'm saying this for people, especially who are extremely convinced that they are treatment resistant, people who think they are extremely hopeless, and people think that there's absolutely no way they can get better. So this one's for them. So whether you are someone who is just starting out your recovery journey, or you're someone who is a few months in, whether you're someone who is even a year in, this video is still important for you because it highlights so many of the things that take us so long to really even come to terms with. Because a lot of people, even up till a year into their journey, don't want to even all the things that I've said, they don't want to acknowledge that. So this is something that I think goes for literally anyone right now. So I hope this helps. I hope this gives you a certain kind of viewpoint that you were looking for. And I'll see you guys on another video soon.